All right, everybody. It is another Sunday evening. We're getting ready for yet another edition of Chaski Chats. And today, you guys are in luck. I'm in luck. We're all in luck because we have a very special guest, Jim Walmsley, friend of Chaski, friend of my own, will be joining us to talk about the HOKA One One Project Carbonex 2, which will be happening on January 23rd. It is at an undisclosed location here in the U.S. As they're trying to avoid large crowds. But that will be a 100-kilometer road race. For those of you in the miles system, that's 62.2 miles. And it's supposed to be a fast race. So HOKA had an event like this back in 2019 in May, which both Jim and I ran in as well. Jim set the 50-mile world's best at that race, running 4 hours and 50 minutes, pace of about 5:45 per mile, something like that. And he will be once again going for a world record this time, along with a handful of us. This time at the full 100K distance. There won't be any incentive at the 50-mile distance. It's all about the 100K. There's a great men's field lined up, a great women's field lined up. And he's going to be joining us here shortly to talk all things 100K training, a little bit about his own training and background, some fun questions about other ultra runners, other runners' feats for the last few months that some of you guys have sent in. So we've got lots of listener, subscriber questions that you guys have sent in. And here's Jim. We're going to let him in now. Oh, sorry, Kyle. Yeah, it's Jim Walmsley. Very disappointing. But we're going to let him in. Jim is actually just up the street from where we are now. There's the man himself. Hey, Jim, how's it going?
Maybe I can go horizontal that way.
Well, now you're sideways.
Does that make a difference?
Yeah, it's better that way if you can do it.
Well, see, I had it set up to do it horizontal. Probably need a hat anyways.
Well,
hold on a sec.
How's it going?
Good.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, man. I don't want to take too much of your time, so I would love to just dive right into it. I gave a little bit of an intro about Project Carbon X, but do you want to just give the people who are just tuning in now a little bit of a background about what the event is and what we're trying to do there?
Yeah. So basically, HOKA, myself, Tyler, Camille Heron, Devin Yanko, Hayden Hawks, and bunch of other HOKA runners are all getting together to run a road running race. And a little inside joke there, but we're just looking to run fast times at a standardized distance. We did this kind of once before in 2019, and looking to take another crack at it, kind of take lessons learned from last time and apply them towards trying to improve that this go round. And we're just targeting the 100K distance, being one of the things I think we can improve on, is not like going after two different distances. So I think this go around, we already have a really big advantage just with one goal in mind and not trying to get distracted with multiple paces. It's just one race now. So I think that's going to simplify it a lot.
Definitely. And you and I have talked a lot about kind of the historical background of this distance. It is like you said, it's a very standardized distance. It's I believe the only World Athletics, now certified distance that they actually track the world record at.
They've standardized a couple distances, but I think currently now they are only standardizing the 100K, as in, at least I think the IAAF even accepts that one as a world record. The IAU, I think, accepts like 24 hours, maybe the 12-hour. I'm not 100% sure, but.
Cool. Well, talk to us a little bit about kind of what this record means. First of all, what is it? So people know, what's the mark? What pace is it? And then can you give us a little bit of kind of the historical context of what that record means in history?
Yeah. So, like, one of my favorite sites I've looked up is basically this website called Ultra Marathon Statistics. It's a German website, and it's really difficult to get the actual up-to-date like current rankings. However, if you, and I don't know if you have a way of sharing this, but um, basically, if you click on like result, I think international rankings, they have a compiled list, but it's like 5 years old and doesn't have the current world record or several other times.
Hmm.
But if you click on an individual year, then you can change the filter to like all years, and all of a sudden, you can really get a grasp for things and kind of see, like basically what we're talking about is 14 people ever have broken, no, 14 runs ever have broken 6 hours, 20 minutes in the 100K. I'm not sure the pace on that, but the world leading time is by Nao Kazami from Japan, set at Lake Saroma, like Lake Sonoma that we have in the U.S., but ran about 2 months later. And instead of Sonoma, it's Saroma. So if you haven't heard of that one, it's a really big event over in Japan in the ultra running world, and they get after it every year. And every couple of years, I think historians debate how much a tailwind may or may not have played a point in that one, because every couple of years they get really big outlier times. Um, and I think I think three of the top 10 times have been on that course. So pretty good. The two marks that are most interesting from that, or I guess actually four of the top three, or three of the top four, I'm dyslexic, uh, three of the top four 100K times have been ran on that course, and the only other one is by Don Ritchie on a trek. And that one dates all the way back to 1978, running 6:10. So that one's a crazy outlier out there, and kind of puts things in perspective for a long time. But people have been really regularly attacking this one. We got sub 210. We got, I think, the fastest guy. A couple 208 guys have tried to run the 100K distance before. Some of them might not be necessarily in their prime, but Sonata is a Japanese guy that has the third fastest 100K time in 6:13. He's really interesting because he started out as a marathoner, and he continued to attack not only the marathon but also the 100K around like the same time. So he not only improved his 100K time, I think he's got quite a few times, but he eventually worked it to 6:13. But in addition, he also worked his marathon time over 2 years down to 2:11 and then 2:10. And so he's like almost a 2:10 flat guy from Berlin, that has a 6:13 100K that's like legitimate when he's in 2:10 shape. So that speaks a lot of anything kind of translating, but at the same time, um, I think again and again and again, the history really shows that it's not completely transferable, and there's something different about going 100K. And um, Andy Milroy says in a lot of his stuff that basically you got to be ready to run 100 miles, even though it's only 100K.
Well, I think you're probably ready to run 100 miles, having done that a handful of times. Um, but let's get into some training stuff. So a couple different people, asked what in terms of your training has been different, or if your approach to the race is different this time. Because, like you said at the beginning, we did try this, about 18 months ago, back in Sacramento in 2019. And you did get the 50-mile record, and then, kind of struggled after that. So, like, has your preparation been different? Is your mental focus going into the race different at all? Like, where do you see yourself now versus then?
Um, I think I feel completely different when I'm starting to do workouts. It's because basically the half marathon work I've done in this last year, I feel like I can really hit more true threshold and even sub threshold stuff that comes more uncomfortably as a guy that's focused just on ultra running the last few years. So that's what I find the biggest difference. Another big takeaway is putting so many marbles into the February US Trials like marathon run that I really felt like I got cooked a little bit before that race, and that's a just a good reminder that that can happen to everybody and overtraining things. So one of the biggest things of this, and we've joked a lot about this on just our training runs, is just don't cook the goose before the race. And um, we're just trying to have really good training, but not overdo the training. And especially, I think on the long runs, I'm trying not to do too much. Like I've hit a couple runs, 20 to 30 miles on the road, and I've been really happy with them. And instead of going back to that and keep hammering, I've done a lot more backing off and just staying on the trails to help stay healthy, stay interested, stay excited, rather than showing up fatigued and kind of burnt out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just someone just commented, yeah, if you're curious, the pace for the 100K world record is about 5:56 per mile. I think it's
Rounded.
3:40 per K. Yeah.
555.6. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Jim's got all the stats memorized. So what you're just saying, kind of, a bunch of people are asking about this, and I think it plays off of that. And people see you run a ton of mileage, big weeks, big long races. What, if anything, do you do for injury prevention? And do you have any recommendations for other runners who want to try and run bigger mileage, run bigger weeks, run long races, and without kind of breaking their body down?
Yeah. So, what's really helped me kind of add volume or add miles to me is just not worrying as much about intensity all the time, just plugging in intensity more race specific before races and touching on that when I need it, but not it's what kind of tweaks my body a lot more. I find that the trail and doing vert is it really helps me maintain like not overusing things. And so I think the trail helps me a lot. I do a lot of foot drills every night before I go to bed, and that's really been my personal weakness is kind of Achilles area. So especially when I ran track in college, Achilles problems were the biggest thing. So I don't touch track spikes. I barely touch flats, and yeah, I'm kind of almost lucky that I've been with HOKA in the fact that they got big squishy shoes, and it helps my calves not get too tired.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point of kind of balancing intensity and volume. And I've even felt that a little bit this block of having weeks where we've been a little bit higher volume, a little bit lower intensity, and kind of balancing that, like backing off one or the other. I think if people I make this mistake all the time of like trying to get greedy and like you want to do everything, and I think that you really need to understand like where your body is and what it can handle. And if volume is really the thing you want to focus on, then I think focusing on volume and letting the pace and intensity dictate itself can be a really powerful way to be able to do that without breaking yourself down.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
um
varying things has been good.
So let's see. This is kind of a similar question. Other than doing a ton of mileage, what do you think has had the biggest impact on your running career and kind of your progression as a, college athlete into the professional ranks?
What's had the biggest impact? I mean, college really, for me, can't be replaced. I think it laid a big foundation for the type of speed work I do and just figuring out what workouts I enjoy doing. I think whether you're on the trail or you're on the track or you're on the road, I think you need to find things that you enjoy doing about it and embrace what you enjoy. If you hate doing repeats, don't do repeats. Go do a fartlek on a trail or a road or something. Like there's a lot of different styles of workouts with things, and I think embracing the things you like can kind of, yeah. I mean, for me, I don't like doing sit-ups and core, so it makes it feel like a job. I do it when I find I am having imbalances or weaknesses, but outside of that, it's not fun, and I'll double down on the other stuff and maybe do a little more vert instead of a couple crunches at night. I think, yeah, for me, I guess if you talk about something that I've done throughout my high school all the way to college and pro career, I think everybody's done mile repeats. So I like mile repeats a lot. It's kind of been one of my bread and butter workouts, but probably 10 days, 2 weeks out before an ultra, I'll just do 5 by 1 mile with long rest. I usually do 3 minute rest here at 7,000 feet altitude. And um, that's kind of been just all the tune up I do usually for ultras. But something like this Road 100K, it takes a lot more efficiency and a very specific gear. So there's been a lot more pace work, and that's where I'm finding a lot more rolling over from, I guess, the first half marathon I did back in 2019 out at Houston, and then followed by Project Carbon X1, and then another half marathon, and now preparation for this. I mean, I'm definitely feeling those blocks built on top of each other.
Yeah. Now, you touched a little bit on this with kind of, you casually mentioned like, oh, I might do extrovert instead of doing sit-ups or something. And I think that's been one of the things I've noticed, running together is just like how much more vert you're doing and how much more trail you're doing than I would normally do, like prepping for a road ultra. So I guess, do you see that as something that's like a physical, stimulus that you're looking for, or is it like you were saying before, just it's what you like to do and
Yeah,
that's why, or is it a balance of the two?
I guess as you're asking that, I think let's see if I can remember the three things. But I would say one, I enjoy it. Two, I think it's building strength and muscular weaknesses that I have. So, like I noticed when I haven't like ran in the Grand Canyon, my glutes get targeted a lot, and I have, like every runner, I have weak glutes. So I find that's a good stimulus for me to stay healthy. And then in addition, I find the road to be harsh on my specific body. So um, doing as much as I feel I need to without overdoing the road. So those three things, I think, uh, yeah, I think they're big strengths for keeping trail in the way that I like running. And um, yeah, I find I get a good stimulus on the trail because I can maintain a good enough pace on it and heart rate and stuff. So I think I saw someone asking about the Sedona track. I think that was Yassine. Yeah, we got kicked off that a couple weeks ago. We showed up. We had one more mile. Yeah, I was doing mile repeats. I think I was doing 6 by a mile. I was ripping that day, and on the sixth one, 200 meters in, the security guard was really aggressive. So that stopped right there, and I thought that was going to be my best mile workout in my life, probably. So that was kind of fun, but I thought about going onto the roads to finish the workout, but went back to don't cook the goose. It's a good enough day, and like take what we got there. So.
Yep. So that actually leads perfectly into this kind of last training specific question, which talking about goose cooking. So someone asked, how do you personally tell when your body is being stretched to its limits and you need to back off? Like, you are obviously really in tune with that, and I know you talked about the trials build up. It sounded like maybe you went a little too far. So how do you make that judgment between pushing super hard and getting as much out of you as possible and overcooking your goose?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of variabilities with individuals. For me personally, uh, I get grumpy. I sleep. Yeah, Jess is eyeballing me in the background. Uh, I might be getting. Yeah, it's time to taper soon for me. So I'm sensing that. But I think sometimes when the goose is cooked too much, you really show up and you don't have that pop in your legs. All of a sudden, everything is just much harder. And then when you do take a day off, or 2 days easy or something like that, I think you need to see a response in your legs, as opposed to if you back off a bit and you don't see a response. I think that's a bit of a red flag of um, but I don't know. Sometimes I've also felt cooked, and then you just get back into the intensity, and that's when you start finding your rhythm again, and then you feel good when you got a lot to work on and a lot going on, and you sleep a little better. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's part of the artistic side of the ultras. Of there's less of a pre-planned calendar to follow. I think generally when I followed a calendar perfectly, um, my goose has gotten cooked. So this one hasn't been perfect. It's been, I think I took 2 intentional weeks. I think I worked up to about 135 miles during this block. And I took 2 weeks with a lot lower mileage and focused more on speed, kept busy with doing a couple more doubles and trying to get some pop. And that's when I was doing that mile repeat workout and feeling really good. So I felt like I got a really good stimulus for the 2 weeks. I felt like my legs were a bit fresh, and then I tried to get back into the volume these last 2 weeks, and then now we got 3 weeks to go. So I'll look at the next 2 weeks starting tomorrow as really feeling things out. I think being comfortable. If I want to go for a double, I'll go for a double. If I want to go for a further run, I'll go for a further run. If I'm tired, I might take a day off. So I'd say days off are rare, but I take them when I need them, and I think they're more beneficial when you feel you're tired and you take that day off. I think for me, it's way more beneficial if it's timed correctly rather than just on the calendar.
Yep. Someone just commented that your 249 at Pemberton 50K might have been a goose cooking.
Yeah, but it was at least one of the long runs that I think cumulatively cooked the goose. But I like Pemberton. I have several good friends involved with that race, so that one I at least get to put in my pocket and talk a little shit on them for the rest of our lives. So, because I think they're just like, no way, that record's so good, and then I'd say, oh bullshit, I could break 3 hours blindfolded, and then so finally doing that is kind of worthwhile. I don't think it would have gotten me 19 more places that I needed at the trials, so whatever. I don't think, I guess 2 minutes in the marathon and 8 places, I don't think I'd be any happier than how the trials went. I think it went okay, and it is what it is. And part of the marathon or part of the 100K is, I guess you're defined by your time in some way. So, yeah, I think it's a little laughable. That's why I like the trails as well. I think there's more of an individual story that is just unique as opposed to being so time centric and defining your day and your performance based off of that time. Because if you take Hideki's 100K from our May race last time, I mean, it was one of 14 sub 620 runs under 100K ever, and it was absolutely awesome. So I think he deserves a lot of credit. And then you look at history, and you can definitely throw him in the category of one of the best 100K runners of all time. He's one of 3 guys that have broken 6 hours 20 minutes twice, and he is the only to break 6 hours 20 minutes and do it in a negative split. So he did that at the 2016 World Champs, I think. So when he's also 2-time world champ in the 100K. But I think unfortunately he's got a injury this go round, but so he's not going to be part of the kind of exciting but dynamic dual race that's going on with the Project Carbon X2.
Yeah, and I don't think we mentioned that there is going to be a second race that's happening. I don't think it's at the same time. I think it's happening basically the overnight before we race. It's in the morning in Japan, where they'll have, I don't know, another 10 or 12 runners, I think, running on a short loop course there in Japan, also going after the 100K world record. So we might wake up and there could be a new 100K world record
Yeah,
on
their
January
national record
23rd.
is the world record. So, yeah, no country does the 100K better than Japan. So, adding
Yeah,
them in the mix definitely spices things up.
yeah. Okay, a few last kind of general ultra questions that I thought would be fun. Which current elite road runner would do best if they switched to ultra or trail running?
Yeah, I think you gave me this question early, and I still don't really have a great answer. I think my funny comment before would be like just grab Kipchoge, Kim Waror, Joshua Cheptegei, and the fact that we've never had someone with that speed and that talent try the trails and care about the trails. So um, I think there's a slew of like road track guys in that exist in the world. They're runners, but just have no interest in the ultra stuff. And I think taking one of those guys, giving them the right motivation, the right passion, and the right direction to try to do this could set them up for really just groundbreaking performances that we aren't imagining right now. Um, but at the same time, it's not going to be there if they come out and they try to do 100K on a whim. They won't finish. They won't care about it, and they'll walk away just going, "This was stupid." So, yeah, I
Um,
think
someone just commented, and I think you might have even mentioned this at some point that Scott Fable
yeah,
said
yeah,
that he could finish top 10 at Western States next year. Do you want to comment on that?
yeah. So I guess my
Hang on,
opinion.
Jim. I think you're covering the mic or something.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
So my opinion on that would be, without a doubt, Fobbs has like the talent and the running capability to do it. Um, I would very much question the desire to be there and to finish and to run one like Western States 100. I think that's the biggest, most obvious, and most important attribute that you need. So it would have to all depend on how Fobbs wanted to, how much he wanted to put into it. If he wanted to put everything into it, he'd do great. If he wants to half-ass it, he's going to have a big community laughing about, thanks for coming out and trying, but this isn't like a big joke. Like there's a lot of good runners that do take things seriously, and yeah, I guess from walking 30% to training with a weighted vest to sitting in a sauna for hours, like there's all sorts of ways to get top 10 and do it successfully, and there's no like perfect way of doing it, but every one of those guys, I think myself included, share the passion and the dream to do well there. And if someone comes in without that, they're missing a big part. So they would be relying heavily on talent and stubbornness, I think. So, but that'd be awesome to see him. It's a big ramble, I guess, on that one, but bigger picture, not just specific to him, but any really talented, great runner like Fable. I think just the motivation has to be there more than anything. Otherwise, he's going to have speed bumps and hiccups that he'll get frustrated with, and he won't enjoy his time. But if he respects it, trains for it, loves it, he'll do great.
Good answer. Um, okay, so I read this one to Jess. I don't know if you heard it before, but I kind of like this comment. I'd love to hear your take. So this person wrote, ultra running in the U.S. seems to be fixated on the quote sufferfest and runners overcoming issues or inner demons. Are there healthier attitudes towards ultra marathons that runners should be considering?
I mean, you can always look at your own personal records on a certain course, whether it's like say there's Stagecoach 55K that I've ran 3 times. I look at my times based on that, and I've ran it with friends, and I give them a hard time based off of the one time I've really tried to rip it. So you got your own local routes and trails and races that you can compare times with. Weather plays a big factor year to year, I think, more than anything in ultras because you're out there all day, and the longer distance you throw at that, the more variability you're going to get. So that can be a bit difficult, but that's also a beauty of it. I think kind of embracing the Sufferfest is a way of focusing on your inner motivation during the race, and that's your own personal battle out there. And I think one of the things you need to accept with an ultra is it's going to get hard no matter what. So um, part of it is embracing the sufferfest. Another side of it, you could present the 100K road, the 24-hour track. You can get into 6 days. Like these are time and distance specific events, and all that matters is the clock and the distance. So yeah, there's completely that side of it. You can get after a 50K road track, and you can race the clock, but that's not very interesting for most people, and you can only race the world record so many times before you just kind of know where your ballpark. So, but luckily, I think I still have a lot to improve on. A 650 500K for myself, so I'm pretty excited to have the opportunity to do it again in January in a couple weeks.
Awesome. We can wrap it up. I think last question, which is a good one to end on, is for young athletes that are interested in ultra running,
Yeah.
whether like as a junior or eventually going into ultra running. What advice would you give to them as a kid or a teenager?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's pretty unique when kids want to of ages. I mean, I think I've seen 9, 10 year olds doing ultras, and I think lots of high schoolers are really interested. But I guess from my perspective, I got brought up through the track and and cross country kind of pipeline of high school and college. So um, I definitely would suggest sticking to more of a structured club or team that's going to provide some framework for intervals and a team atmosphere. I think some of my best memories are from high school cross country and college cross country, and friendships that I'll never be able to match in other places. I think I hold those pretty close to my heart. So those experiences are a really big deal. If you're really looking to get into it, I would suggest I think short trail running is amazing. So you're looking at the World Mountain Running Association and some of the races that are in the Solomon Golden Trail Championships. Those really sharp, fast trail races, you have to have a ton of leg speed for. So um, you really need to balance track workouts anyways. So it's a great balance if you're interested in it. It's a great way to get out on the trails, and you can attack Strava FKTs or segments that way too. Like that sort of stuff is really fun, especially as a newer runner or a younger runner. Strava is a game out there with, like, just waiting for you to go chase down time. So I think things like that, but as far as being younger and doing 100 miles and 200 miles or multi-day stuff, I think I wasn't into it. I know a lot of friends that have gotten into it. I mean, recently, Sebastian was a runner that was out here, and he's totally into it and doing great with things and loving it. And I think if you're like that, or James Bonet did it. He's a guy that I went to high school with, and he was running Western States at 18. So um, I think if you enjoy it and the passion's there, ask your parents for permission. But I would say there's so much to the sport that you can focus on that doesn't necessarily just go further and worry about further. I think at some points you need to say the distance is enough, and try to improve upon where you're at and where you're competing, rather than just trying to go further.
Absolutely, yeah. I think just like with ultra running, patience, like it's a long game. You got plenty of time. Enjoy high school and college cross because like those things, you're never gonna be in an environment like that ever again. And it's really awesome. Like everybody loves it who's done it. So take advantage of those opportunities. And yeah, if you have cool other events that you want to hop into, then do it. But definitely like don't sacrifice on the team side of being a high school or college athlete. It's really awesome. Cool.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, Jim, it's been awesome. Thanks so much for your time. We
Yeah,
will
thanks for
be
having me.
cheering you on, everyone here at Chaski for January 23rd. And yeah, we'll be we'll be seeing each other soon.
Getting
We've
a
been
couple more
training
training
together.
runs in together before
Yeah.
then. So yeah, it's getting close, so it's exciting.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. It's been a real pleasure talking to you and getting to pick your brain both this evening and the last few months. So we all
Cool.
appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining.
All right, have a good
All
night.
right.
Bye,
See ya.
everybody.